All right, I'd like to open the Board of Selectmen meeting for Tuesday, November 1st. Could I have a roll call, please?
Chaz Sexton Duranian present.
And Veronica Cal present. Teresa Morris is unable to attend tonight. All right, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, I'd like to announce that the meeting is being recorded on Zoom. It'll be posted later on YouTube, and it is also live on Channel 9. Chairman's additions or deletions. The only real addition I have is we will be looking at the minutes for 6/21 and also 6/7. That was leftover from last time we met. I don't have any other additions or deletions. Does anybody else?
You know,
All right. Public comment period. Is there any public comments?
that's right.
And if you're going to comment from Zoom, I'd like you to have your camera on, please. All right, I don't see any. All right, no public comments. Moving on to the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes for 6/7/2022? We'll take these one at a time.
So moved.
Second, any comments? Jess?
No, I'm good.
I had a few word changes, just a last name spelling and a replacement of a word. So I'm going to give these to Sabrina while I write down. But going through these, it made me think, oh, I should check them. So I'm going to just try a few things. This will for you, Anna. Talk about them tomorrow. And then another one was. All right, so I'm going to send this to Sabrina for the words. I've already talked to her about that.
So, Madam Chair, I amend the motion to state that upon the changes that we make, we approve these.
All right. How do you vote?
Yes, Chaz Sexton Duranian, yes.
And Veronica Kell, yes. I guess we don't have to do roll call this tonight, do we? Have anybody remote. All right, is there a motion to approve the minutes for 6/21?
So moved.
Second, if I have a second to my thing, if I forget, kick me.
Oh, I will.
Okay. All right, and I think I didn't have any changes on this, but I did have one question. Where did that ever? Do you remember talking about that?
Yes.
Okay, that's for tomorrow. All right, so all those in favor?
Chaz Sexton Duranian.
Veronica Cal, yes, we're gonna have it.
I know.
Doing that, aren't we?
Yeah.
So, okay, so these are good otherwise. All right. So, that brings us to our appointments and hearings. So the first one is with is to discuss the implementation of the master plan and the municipal vulnerability and hazard mitigation plan documents. So I know Beth, our planning board administrator and CBA administrator, is online with us here. And I think that what I'd like to do at least is just have a general discussion about how we see these documents being used by the town moving forward. So anybody have any different thoughts on that? Yeah.
I guess I'm not understanding the question. Moving forward, we're just going to be following what the documents have outlined, yes.
Okay, so I went and I looked through the charter thinking, okay, is there any guidance in the charter? There is no guidance in the charter that I could find as to how to do this. But I guess the question is, for the master plan, are we going to review it with the town at all? Are we going to, should write some things down. Are we going to ask that, any planning that we do looks at the master plan and talks about how, it fits with that or doesn't fit with that?
Well, I think that should be a kind of at a bare minimum, we should make sure that the master plan gets sent around to all of the town's boards and committees. The request that, that they keep the goals of the master plan in mind when they're making decisions. If they're proposing bylaw changes, they should be able to reference a reason in the master plan as to why they're proposing changes. I think that there should be an expectation that changes that come from the Board of Selectmen with respect to anything that touches on the master plan have some sort of anchor in the master plan. If the master plan talks about sustainability or affordable housing, then we're looking to the guidance and the documents for kind of directions that we're going to take in town on those topics. Implementation is something I think would be a lot on the part of the new land use coordinator and the planning board.
Okay. I guess for me, just thinking about this and looking at the MVP plan, which I did work on along with Beth, and others, we twice went forward to get a grant, for MVP. And we were denied both times. I'm wondering if we should, are we allowed to direct people to look at it, like the planning board, maybe a committee or something? I'm thinking community one stop, to get in there and say, these are the things we want to do. This is the order that we want to do them. And yes, we are now down a land use coordinator and a grant administrator,
Right.
which was integral in doing this. So do we put this on hold until we have those two positions hired? So I'm just throwing stuff out. There's no set in stone.
Well, there's also, I think it's the community compact grants. There's the, I know that I did a report for the Board of Selectmen back in 2015, 2016, for the preferred, what was that called?
Housing choice community.
Yeah.
Right.
But there's a thing that's preferred, I forget what it's called. It's, having your master plan, your housing production plan is all part of being in this program to be put ahead of other people who are looking for grants. And I can't think of the name of it right off the top of my head. But being actively working on your master plan is first and foremost on there. It also had MVP in there as well. These are the things that you need to be current. I can't think of the name of what it was. But it was a program to put you ahead of other people that are getting grants because you've
done all this work.
Yeah,
already.
yeah.
Is it still in place now that
Yes.
they have
Yes.
community compact?
Yep.
Beth, do you have anything that you want to add to this? You have to unmute.
Little delayed. She's on the phone.
Yeah, it's on the phone.
No, it's not
It's tough-
unmuting.
It's tough on the phone.
She's trying.
Hartley, can you unmute Beth?
I sent her the ask, I keep sending her the asks to unmute thing, and she's not responding.
Trying.
She's
Yeah, I
trying.
think I think there's some service issues.
Yeah, because
Okay.
it's very,
Yeah.
She looks frozen
Yeah, I
now.
think she's frozen.
Yeah, okay,
Um,
all right. I'm just looking at, like dam safety. So there's the water department, the conservation commission. If you look through what, are you there, Beth?
Here I am.
Okay, you're a little stretched out.
Yeah, that worked well.
let her turn her video off.
Turn your video off and try talking. I know I
I
can.
should say that I was very involved as Laura and Veronica. Can you hear me now? Oh, so you can't hear.
It's really.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, you
sound
can't
like
hear
the
me?
Adults in
Okay,
Charlie.
hear me now?
Oh, that's much
Yes,
better.
that's
Oh,
better.
that's too bad.
Good job.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I just say it was a great honor to work on that MVP HMP plan, combined plan for the town. I just really enjoyed the work and working with every department, and I think it's a wonderful plan. It's ready to get launched, and I actually have started working with some of the committees. I went to the Conservation Commission the other day. They were wonderful. Took a look at their appointed, the areas where they were named, and we're going to start working on things that they've done and things that they are going to look at going forward with the plan in mind. I noticed that the Board of Selectmen are not named in the table on the MVP HMP plan specifically for any of the action items, which is fine. But the reason I brought it, wanted to bring it to everybody's, attention tonight was just so that new board members could be aware of the plan and, incorporate it in your work, reference it whenever, use it for any sort of grants. It's a living document, and the master plan recently approved, as you know, also is going to be, the planning board plans on working on that every year, working on a section of it every year. So that's all up to date and ready to go. I mean, it's not, up to date in terms of the data. It does need updating, but the housing production plan goals and strategies was incorporated into it. So there's a lot of great data, a lot of great information, and I just wanted to come tonight and maybe just bounce some ideas about implementation and how I can help, and I just thank you for having me.
Or Beth, do we still have the core team available?
Not really. The core team hasn't convened since the document formulation of the document. That is a great idea. I think it doesn't take a lot of meetings, but if we could reconvene the core team for the MVP HMP plan, that would be really nice for implementation. Just sort of, go over the plan.
Yeah, to set a plan of action, because if I remember correctly, the implementation was that the core team was then looking at some sort of algorithm to start to start moving it forward to the other boards and committees.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so what can we do to help you out with that?
Well, I guess if it's okay with the planning board, I'll try to reconvene the core team, at the wishes of the planning board, because that's who I work for. And I'm happy to do that as long as, there's time permits. The board's doing a lot of permitting right now and a lot of bylaw amendment work. So I'd be happy to do that until the new land use coordinator comes in. So yeah, I would work on reconvening the core team, and maybe recruiting a few new members, and building those relationships with some community members to help on that plan. That would be great. As far as I don't want to jump plans, but as far as the master plan, I printed out the implementation table for each of you, a copy of that. I don't know if you have any ideas on how you want to move that forward. Do you want to go through each line item that has Board of Selectmen on it? Do you want me to have joint meetings and discuss those action items in the implementation table, or what are your thoughts on that?
Implementation table for,
Master plan.
The plan.
is that what you handed me, Sabrina? Oh, well,
No, this is the MVP.
Oh, it's
Mhm.
actually packet. It's in that packet.
It's in the
yeah.
back. It's in
implementation.
the
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
I think these are things that the Board of Selectmen can pick up and discuss in separate meeting, over the course of the next few months.
Okay, that'd be good.
That's
And then-
what well, we could look at this. I'm looking at Historic and Cultural Resources recommendations. The town should consider passing the Community Preservation Act.
Yeah.
That's definitely one that we should be looking at. The town
Yeah.
should establish a historical commission. I thought we had one. The
We have a
Historic
historic.
Commission,
Yeah.
we have that already in place.
Well, we have a historic district commission. They're talking about something different.
What is different between the, how many historical commissions do we need? We have the Historical Society.
We have
which
the
is a-
historic
no.
district, which has the 3 districts, but this is talking about the entire town. Not just three historical districts. There's 2 different things. Don't look down your glasses at me. My thought on this, Beth, is that we have Board of Selectmen, you've got the water, you've got planning and all of that kind of stuff. I know for the Board of Selectmen, I would kind of like to see something prioritized.
Okay.
To see what we need to jump in first, and I think that the Board of Selectmen would be able to do that, but I also see that with these other boards, we have liaisons that can also lend a hand to some direction with their particular departments as well.
Wonderful. That would be awesome. Just sort of start, putting together maybe a scorecard using that implementation table, and either, like what I'm doing with the MVP is we're actually taking the action item table and adding a column to it and sending that around to each department, and then they could fill in, what they're doing, what's actually going on already towards that goal, and some ideas on what, future things that you might want to work on. So something like that of a bit of a, I don't know if scorecard's the word, but that's what I was thinking. Liaisons would be great. And I like that idea a lot. We can just roll it out.
I'm looking at this, and I think we should put them together, apply the complete streets for a plan to work on. I'm looking at, well, we look at the number 1, the town should hire a town planner or economic development coordinator. Absolutely.
I've been saying that since the first day I walked in.
Yeah. The town of Townsend should seek out opportunities such as complete streets to increase pedestrian and bicycle friendliness of its town roads. But each of these separately is not, I like the second one. This is on page 121. That says the town should support grant opportunities to improve pedestrian and bicycle friendliness with engineering studies similar to the Kittleson and Associates study, but covering the whole town. So that's where I'm looking for I don't even know if committee 1 stop, but if we were to say we want, and I have to look at the deadlines for One Stop. I think it's in the March,
Yeah.
April, May timeframe.
Yeah.
If we were to say, we need someone, a planner, to work with us on these things, because we have complete street stuff in, but it really needs updated. It's not exactly what we want anymore. And we have DLTA studies, which we did not have 2 years ago,
Right.
which we
Right.
have now. But how do you put that all together? How do,
Exactly.
you know, and quite frankly, the town doesn't have the funding to do this sort of stuff. And we're all pretty, tapped out as far as, you know, just doing the work that needs to be done to keep the town running. And so if we had someone looking at it, the way we have had the opportunity to do with the planners that Shared Streets and Spaces provided for us, that we're still working on. There's a 4.3 or whatever Shared Streets and Spaces on this agenda. It's wonderful to work with planners like that.
We'd love to have
Yeah.
one in the office here.
Yeah.
Have to do it once every 2 weeks.
So, you know, someone to take all these things and put them in a logical order. That, I mean, even you said the planning board's really busy right now, and they are. So
Yeah.
where do you get the time to look at this? You really, really need,
Ideally, we'd have a staffer who could come in and like this would be their
their
operating document.
Yeah, yeah, it would be wonderful to have that. We don't have that.
And if I may, Madam Chair, just one comment on the master plan goals. Those were voted on and approved by the master plan committee, and they're not necessarily goals that you have to adhere to as a town or a board. They're based on very old surveys, so they're, that's something just to keep in mind as we use the documents, that those goals are not necessarily going to come to fruition. They're there for discussion and for, you know, a general guidance of what the master plan committee came up with.
I really think, I mean, and again, this is page 120, the second one, the town needs to collaborate with the small business community and nonprofits to facilitate discussion and agreement on projects and exploit the collective talents of members of these entities to benefit the town. There needs to be a larger discussion on what does the town look like? What does the area around the common look like? What do we do with the town buildings that are sitting vacant? What do they look like? What do we do with the streets? You know, as far as, do we put in traffic circles anywhere? What do we do with Proctor Road and 119 that isn't actually in the town of Townsend, but affects the area around the high school and the Harbor Mall area? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
A lot going on. So thank you for and having the discussion. I appreciate it. And I'm available for any questions or any assistance that you need.
Thank you, Beth.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Beth.
you.
Thank you for bringing this forward. It's important. So,
You're very welcome. It's a great document. So I'm willing to help. Good night.
Hey, Beth.
thanks,
Good
Beth.
night.
All right, we're going to move on to the TCAM annual review. Sorry, we're a few minutes late, but pretty good so far. So by design, I think what I'd like to do is start with the request for funding letter.
Sure.
And Steve, would you put a new one?
I
up here?
did.
And then from there, we can go to the quarterly review, the review of the budget for next year.
Mhm.
Does that work?
So Madam Chair, if I I do have our TCAM's counsel, Elizabeth Reinhold, on the call. You can see right there. Don't mind her name. It's not Cecile. And she just couldn't change it. But
Okay, that's
for any
fine.
questions as we move on to this, I just wanted to introduce her, and obviously I have Dave and Lisa here as well.
Okay. All right, so we should go with the letter that you provided here.
I'm sorry.
That's
Chief
okay.
Lisa was asking me a question. So yes, what we're asking for, and there was a revised letter that I sent out to Eric today, which you have in front of you, is that we're asking for 2 quarters from fiscal year 2023 that I believe was already voted in to be paid out as.
Okay, so, so this is the request for funding
Yes,
letter for us to disperse. So I know per agreement, it should be 4 times a year.
Correct.
So I think in the future, we're already past, but I personally, and I think would like to see the request, like, set it up automatic, you guys, and send one on July 1st
And
that we pay out by the end
We
of
talked about
July.
that.
we did,
Yeah.
and that's there, Madam Chair, and that's on us. There was some confusion because we did take that one-time disbursement, if you remember.
3 quarters.
3 quarters, and I think that's where some confusion came in, but after obviously discussion, it is set up on a calendar for the quarterly dates.
Okay,
To-
so
to
send
move
us so
forward.
that we're
Yes.
dispersing quarterly.
Correct.
So right now, we're in Q2. So this letter requests Q1 and Q2 from what was allocated at annual town meeting in May.
Correct.
Okay. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah,
With
no,
that?
yeah.
And Chaz, and I think, and I'm looking for it here, at special town meetings. So what happened last annual town meeting is the town only voted 3 quarters of the amount that was available. Because the 4th quarter, which the town had received, had not yet been posted in accounting. And so because of that, we were low in what we put in the annual town meeting. So I think we have to put as a warrant article for special town meeting, the movement of that last quarter from FY '22 to them. To be put in there, to be allocated to them, because the town has to allocate the funds that they receive. Because right now, they only have 3 quarters of FY '22, as opposed to 4 quarters of FY '22.
Sure.
As what the town approved. And then we have to look at at annual town meeting and see if we have all 4 quarters by then for when we go in there. Because the warrant article then should have all 4 quarters if they are available to us. Otherwise, we're always operating back a quarter. If that makes sense.
Right.
And we were able, the year before at annual town meeting, for whatever reason, we were able to put all 4 quarters. That you guys took in a lump somewhere around February or March or something, I can't remember.
Correct.
Because they hadn't put forward the quarterly asks. So I would really like to have this be more, this is the way it goes, at annual town meeting, all 4 quarters from that fiscal year, the fiscal year that you're sitting in, so it would have been FY '22 last year, would be moved into the account that holds the money that gets dispersed during FY '23. And then they, every quarter, first day of the quarter, send a letter. Steve did send a letter in June to take the first quarter, but it was not yet
Right.
the right fiscal year, because I think I sent you an email.
You did,
back
yeah, we
and
were-
said, hey, you have to wait
Wait.
until July, and then July got missed. So, you see, am I making sense at all?
Oh, yeah, you take,
Okay.
at the end of one year, you take all the money that Comcast has
All 4
given us,
quarters.
You allocate it all into a TCAM account, and then every quarterly TCAM says,
Yes,
can we have our quarterly allowance?
right.
We give them a quarterly check,
Yeah,
and then at the end of the year, you do it again, yeah.
and we aren't there yet. We're close. But we're
closer
not
than we
quite
were
net
last
there because we do have to transfer one of the quarters from FY '22. And it should be in a specific,
It is, I checked.
you know,
I
account.
checked.
Yeah,
the
it
account.
should be there, so there shouldn't be a fiscal year end issue with that. We should just allocate it. I don't understand why it didn't happen in May, but it didn't. So.
It wasn't on the warrant, so.
It was on the warrant for the 3/4, and we were working to get the fourth one in, and the accountant said we couldn't because it was not recorded yet. So we couldn't touch money that wasn't recorded. And so we didn't, but
I think part of that issue is Comcast may not be on a regular schedule themselves. So when they drop in X amount of money, it may be after the actual quarter, which doesn't give the town's accountant and people enough time.
I think
record.
after the warrant, the posting of the warrant was the issue. So anyway, or the annual town meeting, which was the beginning.
It's a little of everything.
But I have set it up now going forward. I'm using the letter that you have in front of you as the template, change the dates, plug in the quarter. And, it's on an automatic thing in my Outlook to just as a reminder, send. And
So it shouldn't be a problem. So.
Yeah.
Okay,
And we'll just verify at the time, we can get like a week ahead of time, I can verify with you, what do we have, so we make sure I put the right amount in and we go through that.
so I think that, do we need to motion this? If it's-
I think you need to have a vote to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is there a motion to transfer the first 2 quarters of funds to, TCAM?
So moved. 2023
For FY 22.
fiscal year.
It's to move the funds from FY '22, the 2 quarters. that-
That's why that's why I said that. So it's the Q4 of 2022 and first quarter of 2023.
No,
You
that's
can't do Q4 2020.
No. Quarter
First
4
2
of
23.
2022 has to go on the warrant for special town meeting so that we the town, vote to allocate that money to TCAM.
Yeah, to appropriate.
We have to
those funds.
appropriate it. Yeah, I guess it's
So then it would be
appropriate.
Q1 and Q2 of 2023.
No, Q1 and Q2 of FY '20 that
Right.
were allocated from FY '22 funds.
Yeah, the money we're gonna be giving to them is last year's money.
Right.
Yeah, we're always a year behind.
We're always a year
You're
behind.
always paying for the next year.
Yeah, we haven't gotten any money yet from Comcast at all.
Right.
For
You
FY
have,
23.
we should be
Yeah, we
having
should, we should.
We
be-
checked, no, the last deposit we got was the fourth
fourth
quarter.
quarter.
Wow.
They're very slow. So this is what
This is maybe what we.
this is the
really-
challenge that we run into in the
Right.
spring, is that they're late.
Oh, the COVID year, my first year as selectman, that was not the case. We had all the funds and we were able to do all 4 quarters.
Well, I
So
They
also,
weren't dealing with walking customers at that point. Everybody was shut down.
maybe that was
yeah,
it.
they're, all their staff didn't have to go out and do anything.
That's right.
They were able to sit and make
Okay.
payments.
So,
We're allocating the first 2 quarters from the FY 22 money to be submitted to TCAM at this point, is what we're
Right.
looking to do.
so
So moved.
Second, all right, and all in favor. Chaz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Veronica Cal, yes. Okay, and Teresa is absent. All right, so that takes care of Q1 and Q2, and we'll get a warrant article for the Q4 funds.
Yeah.
For the special.
For the special. Right? All right, anything else from this part of it? All right, so,
If I may, Madam Chair, just to go into the report, if I can kind of give a little bit of an opening.
okay, so where are you at?
I'm on page 10 under notable events, actions, and programming. And obviously, I know you've had it.
Oh, I've got it.
You got
Type programs. Yeah, I didn't print the whole thing, but I did print 9, 10, and 11, because those were the interesting.
The
parts.
interesting, exactly.
And I also printed the budgeting piece, so go ahead.
So, I do want to, take the opportunity to, thank obviously the Board of Selectmen for their continued support over the, I think we're now into year 2 of this. And we've come a long way. I, obviously want to thank Eric, in your tenure here. You've been great with your open line of communication with Liz and her team on moving some items along. When we started this, I think everybody remembered that, we kind of started from ground zero. And we put a lot of structure in place as a corporation, having Lisa as vice president, Dave as executive director. We've been able to move the corporation along with respect to what we're giving programming to the town. And if you look, and this is, I think, a great job for really Dave and his team, partly, and Jim, who is now on helping, but TCAM covered 238 governmental meetings for boards, committees, and commissions, including line coverage of 3 annual special town meetings. In addition to governmental meetings, and during the time period between August 21, our last annual report to you, in August 2022, TCAM also covered and broadcast the following 43 public/educational programs for a grand total of 281 program slots broadcast on Townsend PEG access system. If you look at that, from what we've done in years even past, even before TCAM, and you look at the list down, again, I really do want to give credit to, Dave,
Absolutely.
Hartley, and really, I think it's great for the town that, we put on 12 weekly Townsend military band concerts throughout the year, 3 musical performances and events, and 1 grand reopening dedication ceremony at the senior center. And, I'd like to just read this for the public. 3 Squanicook Greenway Rail Trail ceremonies for completed parts of the project, 3 candidate nights/forums in conjunction with the Townsend Business Association, 2 annual POW MIA events on the town common for annual National POW MIA Day, 1 National Purple Heart Day event to announce Townsend was now a Purple Heart community, and in a ceremony to honor Purple Heart recipients, broadcast live for Townsend viewers, 1 Veterans Day ceremony presented by the VFW, 1 flag retirement ceremony presented by the VFW, 1 Memorial Day parade/band concert, again from the VFW and the Townsend Military Band, 4th of July parade presented by the Preble VFW, in conjunction with Preble PEG access, 2 haunted trail events, which I wasn't going to go down that path, for Halloween, 1 Truckapalooza event by the library, 1 live musical concert by the library in conjunction with Pepperell, high school graduation in conjunction with Pepperell, Christmas tree lighting on the common, visit from Santa Claus, 1 Earth Day event for the high school, 1 town administrator swearing in.
I didn't realize that was.
Oh, yeah. We went live.
Yeah.
We actually ran that feature a few times.
Warn a guy.
One junior high school graduation event for Hawthorne. 1 roundtable event in conjunction with the North Middlesex Kids to produce public service video about the stigma of mental health and substance misuse. 1 viewer submitted travelogue video of vacation cruise to Glacier National Park in Alaska. I've actually been there, it's nice. 1 viewer submitted a video of a backyard wildlife. So we're actually getting viewers submitting in, which is nice. And a Medicare Shine informational video shared by Fitchburg. And then if you look, we have some content sharing that we're doing. We have some new connections that we're working with the town's different organizations, the Lions Club, VFW, senior housing information, senior housing repair program, fuel assistance. So there's a lot that we've done. This is just to bring it to yours and the public's attention that, how far we've come in a really short period of time. And, it takes the effort of everybody as a team, you as a board, our partners, which I'll be remiss if I didn't mention, our accountant and our bookkeeper, Sharon and Karen, that keep us on point with everything that we do when it comes to finances. So I just want to, again, just point that out to you as a select group and to the viewers that are watching.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Are there any plans to have kind of, to work on kind of local cable access shows with
Yes.
residents to?
So when we get the studio up and running, and I did get an email today from Comcast that, by the way, Dave, you got to write an $11,000 check, so talk to you about that. Good that we got the funding. That once we get the studio up and running, and then we're able to bring the second channel online.
Yep.
That's when we really can get into what I like to say, not that this isn't fun, but the fun part of it. And a lot of this that we've done for the town is great, but we can really expand. But with that second channel opening, and once we get the studio up and running, and able to get the new equipment in there, more of the editing, Dave does a lot through the laptop, through his house, but once we get it fully operational, there's a lot of plans to put down the road, and just really limited to what we have compared to the years past, even before TCAM.
Yeah.
This really was a banner year for, and I don't say for us, I say for the town, because when I think you remember when I first started this, my biggest hope was to bring all the events that are great in the town to everyone who may not be able to get out and see when the wall came, or see a band concert like they used to in the past, and that was important to me and important to the board, and we're able to do that. And I look forward to it as we grow TCAM, because there is so much growth that we can even and bring more. There's more equipment that we can bring on, where we can, instead of recording and then going after the fact, we can actually go live at a lot of events as they happen. And so we look for that. So the plans for the future are, I guess are endless of what we can do and what we have and look forward to. Dave is always going on webinars and looking at new equipment. I happened to be at a football game, and I saw this piece of equipment with this like camera on an aerial set up, and I called Dave. I texted Dave. I said, Dave, we need this camera. I don't know what you're gonna do with it, but we need the camera. So there's a lot.
So I'll just say that it's gotten so much, you guys have worked out all the kinks in scheduling, or most of them. That has worked so much easier, getting the links, getting things going. And I love the YouTube playlists. I think those are great. So that's
all
been a
Dave.
lot of work to
Yeah,
get that
that is
done,
Dave.
a whole lot of work. So it looks good.
I think there's a broader scope that what TCAM has done in the short time that you guys have put it together, that I think is important for the town. And that's to be able to allow the townspeople to see things a little more readily than what they have in the past. I don't know about you, Veronica, but I do get emails from individuals with questions in regards to things that you guys will broadcast. And those individuals would never have gotten that information unless you guys broadcasted it. So I think that's very important, number one. Number two is I'd really like to see a lot of the schools get more involved in it, because I think that's the most important thing for our youth in town. The more that we can provide for the kids in town, hopefully we'll keep them here and they can start paying taxes for us. Right? I think that's kind of like the goal. The final piece is that I believe in the work that you guys do. I have an entertainment background for a very, very long time. People don't understand the amount of work that goes into something that they see. But it's not only Dave, it's the whole board. It's the people that you have on your staff. And I think everybody needs to get a big thank you. I'll personally say that, because this is the direction of where the town needs to go, and you guys are putting the light on it. So I thank you for the work that you guys have done.
Well, we thank you. And again, it is, to your point, it is a team. We've all taken roles in what we can do. I mean, Lisa is the one that's been heavily involved in the scheduling during the COVID and straighten that out. And I know Dave does a lot of it, and Dave does
Dave
handle.
does it all now.
Dave handles, the day-to-day. My role in it is the business end. I talk with Liz and, a lot, and sometimes I vent and she brings me back down. And, it keeps me what we can and can't do. And
So it's money well spent.
it's money well spent. But it's a team with our partners, our legal, accounting, where I can call them and say, okay, this is what we're doing. We're now fully, and I think Liz can maybe speak to this a little bit, we are officially filed everywhere that we need to be as a corporation and, and you're now, coming on to the board and we'll get that, voted in and, filed with the state, so we do we make sure everything we do is very transparent. That's why we don't handle our accounting, we don't handle our bookkeeping all in-house, it's all outsourced, so it's very transparent, to the town, but I mean, Liz, I think can speak a little bit to where we are with our, that we're all, like I said, legal with the, nonprofit.
So I'll just jump in and agree with Steve on that. From our perspective, this is an organization that's really gotten their legs under it in terms of organizational governance and systems and compliance, totally up to date with compliance. And it's clear from this meeting to me that good teamwork is being established. These are collaborative relationships with these PEG stations, and a good working relationship just yields so many benefits for the public. So we're delighted to be working with TCAM. I can't believe it's the second year I'm here with you. Time goes by so quickly. Happy to answer any questions, but I think this is a tribute to teamwork.
So my only last thing is I know, Chaz, we're excited to get you on the board and we're gonna hold a meeting. We're gonna actually invite Liz to that meeting in person to get you oriented. I know that we've had, you had to do your due diligence with getting opinions from town council and voting as a board, select board and part of our board. The only thing that I would ask, and maybe Eric, you can help on this, as I know you work directly with Liz, you're just giving us a copy of the town council's opinion. So us as a board, or, when we're having meetings, we know we have to take votes that we're following what we're supposed to follow, but we're excited and we're excited to have you on board and we're excited to, when we sit down a year from now and talk about all the, maybe this goes from a few pages to several pages of what we've accomplished.
I'm sure it will if we continue.
I wanted to ask about the budget. You have two of them here, this cash basis budget for
Mhm.
2023. One with the studio construction and one without the studio construction. My question was, why would you not do the studio construction?
We would. It's, the scenario we gave you is that if we were put behind for whatever reason, so it might not go into next year if we had it, for whatever reason, something with Comcast, as in they couldn't get the video drops in. The full studio construction would be the studio operational. We have done a lot into the studio right now. We anticipate, and I would look more to the budget with the studio construction, because actually the email that I got today looks like we're moving forward in a fast manner. But we didn't know where we sat at the time of this report with Comcast, because it's their engineers, their list. We have to still order equipment for it to come in. I think Dave, you said once we have the green light, which we do, it's going to take 3 to 4 weeks. 3 to 4 weeks. And it's very important that when Comcast does that video drop, that the equipment is there at the same time. So when it's hooked up, we have training. So that's why it's there.
Okay, and what's the difference between the 10,000 and the 60,000?
Or under what line? I just have to.
Okay, so I actually have three here for the cash basis budget. So if you look down towards the bottom, total asset expenditures and your deficit, you have one with a deficit of 8K, one with a deficit of 18K, and one with a deficit of 68K. Yeah, you're in the right place.
Huh? I got the budget studio.
Yeah,
I
pull
got
that
the
one.
18K right here.
Okay, so 18K was the first one, then the next one I think is 8K.
That one's 68.
68, and then there's also one that has nothing at all under studio construction. So I guess, so now I understand why nothing at all.
Right.
So then why 10 versus 60, is that,
Who's gonna look at the line? And it could be based on, I'm gonna go from the 18 to the 68, because that's one we're gonna be working
Yeah,
on.
it's the studio construction asset expense
Yeah,
line is
60,000, yeah, jumps up.
yeah,
It
jumps
jumps
from
up.
10 to
Yeah.
60.
So is that just amount of work that might get done in the year?
Yeah, that's gonna be with the equipment, correct. That's gonna be the new equipment we have to order, the cost of having the video drops installed and any incidental items that we may need in the process with electric, and we have to do it, keep the equipment cool.
So that's expense for this year, but as far as funds in the bank goes, you have the funds to cover that.
We do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so right
I
now,
looked at them.
and, you know, we have just north of 250 in the account right now, so we're fine.
Yeah, okay,
But, you know, it's gonna get a little bit costly here as we move the studio equipment, because we're gonna be, all new equipment's gonna be ordered and put into the studio. We're running the line from the studio here to keep us live at all times. For whatever reason, let's say there was a power outage here, but not there, we can still stay live at the switch.
Mhm.
You know, that's what we had talked about previous, to make sure that, you know, this is how we stay up and going. So we're in good shape, but that's why.
Okay.
If we do nothing now, if nothing changes for whatever reason, then the budget would be showing that lower amount. If everything proceeds the way we're hoping it goes, we're gonna end up spending like $50,000-$60,000 in one lump sum to get the equivalent of a brand new Cassis dual channel, channel set, 8 and 9, computers, power supplies, I mean, the whole 9 yards, basically building a data facility.
Okay,
So, but if that doesn't happen during this year, then it would be next year's budget, which would explain why one's so low, one's so high.
And like I said, after the email, I did receive an email this morning, this afternoon, late morning, from Comcast, so we're in good shape.
okay,
Comcast had a question for us, we'll work that out, and then once we give them their answer, like Steve alluded to earlier, I write them a 6-figure check or 5-figure.
Don't say
check.
six
Say,
figures.
don't succeed.
Seems like 6, but a 5-figure check, then they'll have their crews down there relatively quickly and have everything going. Once this starts going, it's gonna be like a snowball going down the ski slope. It's just gonna get big and pick up speed as it goes.
all right.
It's great.
Well, we thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't
Yes,
have
thank
any
you.
further
We
questions.
appreciate it.
Anybody else? We're good?
Mhm.
All right.
Alrighty. Everybody have a good evening.
Thank you, Liz.
Steve,
Thanks, Liz.
just got one.
All right, appointments of personnel. We have 2 appointments for the Townsend Affordable Housing Trust. The first one is to appoint Joan Savoy for a term of 2 years, expiring October of 2024. Per the October 2020, October is the, like, year of the housing trust. I am the Board of Selectmen person assigned, but I'm only here until April of 2023. So we need a motion to appoint Joan Savoy to the Townsend Affordable Housing Trust for a term of 2 years, expiring in October of 2024.
Moved. Bless you.
Second, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Veronica Kell, yes. All right, and then the second one is to appoint me as the select board representative for the Townsend Affordable Housing Trust for a term of 6 months, expiring at the end of April 2023.
So moved.
Second? Chaz, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Veronica Kell, yes. Okay. So those are our only 2 appointments for tonight. Moving on to meeting business. The first is a motion to approve and sign outside of a meeting all 2023 renewals for common vittler licenses contingent upon receipt of required documentation and payment. So is there a motion?
So moved.
And I will second that. And the list of the common vittlers is in your
Mhm.
packets.
We don't have to list them or anything?
I don't believe so.
Nope.
So, unless there are any questions or comments, Chaz, how do you vote?
Yes,
And I am also a yes. Moving on to the CBA fee updates, 4.2. So the CBA at their September 21st meeting voted to reduce special permit application fees, variance application fees, and appeal application fees. The CBA is a board appointed by the Board of Selectmen. So this is another thing that I searched the charter for. Nothing really, except that if you look under the bylaw that says fees for other boards that are, like the building inspector or the town clerk, that has to go to town meeting. There are certain rules, but there's nothing on the CBA fee. I know in the past, we have, approved conservation commission fee. So I'm assuming
Another
these
appointed
needed to come to us, another appointed board.
Yeah, that's my assumption. The charter is not clear on how that process works. There are clearly some fees that are set by town meeting, by the charter, but other fees, I believe, would be set by the Board of Selectmen.
Right.
And so, I would think that's why the approval of the Board of Selectmen would be needed for fee changes.
so what is the reasoning for the reduction?
My understanding, and I know that it's unfortunate because I know that Mike has, when he was here, he was attended this zoning board meeting when they did this. They reviewed the fees and felt like our fees were inconsistent with the surrounding towns. I did not do any kind of
Research.
individual research on that.
I mean, that's just a lot of money. I just don't,
Yeah,
unless they feel that they're dropping those so that people would be more willing to apply for these.
Well, these are CBAs, so special permits, I think.
yeah,
Okay.
my concern is the fees for boards and commissions are intended to cover the staff time necessary to kind of take in the applications, review the applications, provide comments to the boards, and then do any kind of enforcement that's ever required for those decisions ever. And you know, when you reduce your fees, what you're saying is you think that those charges more appropriately should rest on the town as a whole, the general tax base. Whereas I'm more of the mind that those fees should rest on the person who's asking for the special exception to the rules, either for a variance or a special permit, that they're the person who should have to cover the staff time for those. That's just my take on it.
I share in that thought pattern because I know, for instance, on special permit, there's a lot of, before it even gets to any boards, there's a lot of work that the administrator does on those. A lot of work.
You know,
And if the application isn't complete, what they need to do to complete it. Sometimes there's research on the admin side to be able to answer some of the questions that the applicant has, so.
there's work on the building commissioners,
For
variances,
variances, I agree. I
he
agree.
does an evaluation of these proposals and sends up to the notification to the land use staff. So there's a lot of staff time that goes into every application, whether it's approved or not. And then everyone that's approved requires some sort of evaluation at some point in time to make sure that they're still in compliance with their approval. So those are my concerns about it. And putting a greater burden on the general fund, to me, seems unwise.
I am looking at Groton's fees, City of Groton, so right next door here, fee schedule, zoning board of appeals, $325. Which is higher than what we have here. I couldn't find Pepperell's online. This is for any zoning board application. They don't
segregate. it.
segregate it. Which, just looking at this, that's the same with us. but looking
Yeah, I
at-
don't think
We have
I think
identical
it's-
fees across the board.
yeah.
Right, so there's no need to itemize. So it doesn't hold for Groton. I couldn't find Pepperell's online. Well, should I look at the number? If it's under building department, this schedule. It's probably not building department. I don't know, in a town that's always looking for revenue. I don't see raising it, but. Not easy to find.
Some places have it in weird places, so it's hard to.
So review of ZBA fee updates. I would not be in favor of changing the fees. That's me. I don't know that dropping at 125 would make anyone more or less likely to apply for something.
I mean, generally speaking, most of the projects that go in front of the board for things like special permits or variances are significant construction projects. I mean, sometimes it could be decks, but it's often additions to to existing structures or new structures that need some sort of relief. In those cases, the difference of $125 in the scope of a new housing project or a new addition, I mean, it's not going to make or break a development project.
Mhm.
Right.
You know what I mean? Those costs, they have significant costs, of which an extra $150 is not.
Well, if it's something like that, they would need a stormwater management, which is more money, and I get that, but.
If,
Go ahead.
if I were gonna accept one of these, it would be the appeal. That, to one. But,
I just, even the appeal, there's a great deal of work that goes on with the admin and
I know that writes the decisions and that.
absolutely, that takes a lot of work in respect too. And I mean, I'm sure not all of it comes out of the fee, but a portion of it does come out of the fee that is, it does. So I am also not in favor of reducing that fee.
All right, so do we need a vote?
I think there should be a motion, yes,
Is there a motion?
motion to approve the fee schedule for the zoning board. That's probably how the motion should be worded.
Right, it
Yeah.
should be in the affirmative.
Yeah.
So I move that, we accept the fee reduction as proposed by the zoning board of appeals.
And I second. How do you vote?
Chess Sexton Duranian, no?
And Veronica Tal, no. All right, moving on. Shared Streets and Spaces Extended Project. So in the packet, there is a map, several maps actually, that show, so Shared Streets and Spaces is funding that we got, about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, for, bike lanes, et cetera, in town. It was MassDOT funded through CARES Act fund. And we, the town, have, after we finished the original project, we had about $31,700 left. We have spent some of that on new picnic tables for the common after getting approval from MassDOT. You have to use this for outdoor spaces, outdoor recreation. So they approved the new picnic tables on the common. There are new benches coming for the common. And we have four more planters that have arrived. Four planters that we'll put in the spring. To control traffic at places where bicyclists could be in danger, like pulling into Mr. Mike's or the corner at Depot Street. Who knows, maybe at Warren Road. But this new, so we have left $25,144 after doing the improvements for the common.
Mhm.
So the accessibility to the second portion of the bike trail is what we focused on. And again, the Bar Foundation through MassDOT was able to provide support for us. Their support was equivalent to about $10,000,
Yeah.
which the town did not pay for. So we have new plans. There was a public information session. The new plans from that, we have added bike lanes from Beach Street to Warren Road and continued the Ash Street down to along
19.
South Row Road, South Harbor Road to the lights at 119. So with painting bike lanes. They did segment this project at our request as far as anticipated costs went because of the water treatment plant.
Mhm.
Those roads are going to be, the places where we want these bike lanes are going to be a little torn up to put in the piping from Witches Brook down to Harbor Trace.
Mhm.
So from Ash Street along South Harbor and South Street. So we did get it segmented. All total, that work comes to about 31,000 to 36,000.
It was, around 36,000.
Around
We include the water treatment plant section,
Right.
the water main section.
The
is
water
really-
main section, right. So we are hoping to go out for procurement and to do this work. We have through mid-June to spend the money
Mhm.
and we'll do what we can where we can over the course of the time.
Yeah, we'll try to get it
So-
procured as soon as possible, but probably for implementation in the spring.
So I'll add to the website or get Harrison to do it. The new pavement marking schematic. This includes, the funding will include signage, the bike lane signage like you see around town. You know, bike lane, share the road, you know, those sorts of things. You can see it in here. Bikes may use full lane versus bike lane, you know, those sorts of signs. So it just made sense to use the funds that we had remaining rather than giving them back to the state.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I will say too that, because I do live in the area, there has been a huge increase in bicycle traffic in that area. significantly, especially since the last section of the rail trail has gone in.
Yeah.
So, I think for the safety of the people driving on there, especially over the bridge,
Yeah,
into 119, I think it's really important.
and it provides safer access from Timberley Park to the rail trail.
Mhm.
And that's our most populated area of town.
And when the next section of this rail goes in, you're gonna have the same
Right.
impacts of more people wanting to get onto that section of the trail. And
Well, even, and again, because I walk Loki up there too, even though that section of the trail is not finished yet, there's still a lot of traffic on there.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it's just not, it's still there. There's an opening.
Yeah.
Once it does open, I'm sure that.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna be
quite
super
too.
popular, I'm sure, and you're all the way down to Groton. So,
So this was just to show you what has been planned. And I think I would like a motion for Eric to work with the Shared Streets team on procurement for this. For,
So moved.
okay. Second. We should put it on here. And how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So the motion is to work on procurement.
And I want to thank you, Madam Chair, for all the work you put into this, because I know that this was started off a simple project that turned into a multi-year festive event for you, right?
Yes. So,
but it's lots of very visible improvements in town
Mhm.
yeah.
that I think make it, safer for, the recreational use of the streets, which is important.
And I know a lot of people are walking on that section as well.
Yeah.
And so, I would really like to have that sidewalk from the Harbor Church down to 119 and the ADA ramps done, but we'll work on
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
Maybe part of the master plan or complete streets or, we'll need grant funding to do that, so. It's just a shame there isn't grant funding for paving roads, but there isn't. So, all right, that's it for that, for Shared Streets, and thank you to the Squanicook Greenways folks,
Yep.
especially Bill Rideout and John
Yeah,
Walkowitz
they-
for doing a lot of work on this as well.
Yeah, take a lot of time.
In Kittleson and Associates, we worked with Juliet and Megan this time around, and they were
They were great.
excellent.
Yeah, they were great.
Senator
So-
Cronin, Senator Markey. I mean, not Markey, McGovern,
Oh, yeah, forgetting us this,
to get to helping for funding for a lot of it too.
Oh, for
the
the,
trail.
for the, yeah,
the trail,
So, I mean,
for the
this is,
trail itself.
yeah,
Yeah,
this has
this is
been,
the-
well, what I'm trying to say is that there's a lot that's going in on something as simple as this. There's a lot of voices involved in.
yeah.
So, all right. Moving on to the police chief contract. We have a signed contract. It's in the folder, I believe,
Yes.
with Chief Sartell, beginning June. It's a 3-year contract, June 2023, end of June, maybe July 1st, 2023, through the end of June 2026. Is that correct?
3-year.
3-year contract.
extension.
So we have that to sign.
Okay.
So, do we need a motion?
I think it's for the best.
So I move that we sign the police chief contract for fiscal year 24 through 26.
Second? Any further comment?
I just want to say that we had this, I thought, nailed down a lot earlier. I don't understand. I just don't want the Board of Selectmen saying we're dragging our feet on this, because I thought we had this done and sewn up a couple months ago.
We did.
Yeah,
It
So,
just didn't get signed.
it just didn't get signed, so I just wanted to be very clear that it wasn't the Board of Selectmen that. And I'm ready for a vote.
All right. How do you vote?
Yes.
I already marked this. No, yes, I'm sorry, I'm ahead of myself. I compared it to what we had done previously, and It's all good. So,
No, we worked with the chief and we came to an agreement, so I'm good with it.
I think it's good to have the stability in the town.
Yeah.
Going forward.
Thank you, chief.
all right, next is, the Townsend Affordable Housing Trust. Is that where we are now?
Discuss to post the vacancy.
Yeah, hang on, I'm not caught up with my papers. I guess it's backwards. Oh, it's backwards. All right, that would be 4.5, right?
Yes.
All right, so, we need to post the vacancy. We had, last meeting, we announced that Mike Verosco had resigned from the board, so there's a vacancy on the Affordable Housing Trust. And, James Boyd, the chair of the trust, provided the, notice of vacancy to be posted, because we need to post that for 10 days, just like any other vacancy. So have you read this?
This, yeah.
Okay, so are you good with the posting?
Why, I don't understand why it's in front of the Board of Selectmen. This is something that just gets posted with a clerk, right? And they post.
Well, it's the same as an appointed board. We are the appointing authority for the housing trust. And that's why it's in front of us. That was my understanding. It follows the same vacancy posting rules as the charter. Because it's not a nonprofit. This is an entity of the town. I have the trust.
Well, I have the trust agreement too.
We are the appointing authority of all trustees. The trustees do not appoint their own.
Right, but I'm saying posting of the vacancy, usually you just post to the clerk and the clerk.
For boards that are appointed by the Board of Selectmen, such as Conservation Commission or ZBA, when a vacancy appears on those boards, they notify us. We post the opening.
As opposed to a department head that, operates, a little bit different.
I guess I've never seen that.
I think it's because of that. I
Conservation.
think it's because of the
Commission.
triggering language that's in those sections of the charter that talks about what happens if it's not filled within a certain period of time. Then people start to have self-help.
I'm very familiar with that.
And that is why I think it's, we get notified and as a board of selectmen,
And we post.
and if
we do the
there's something doesn't happen within 30 days, then there's
Yeah.
options that the trust has to act without the board of selectmen.
Okay.
That is
So
correct.
I think it's a
Um,
notice to the board.
my only, and I don't know, I think this got sent, did this get sent over as a doc? If it didn't, it should have been, because this header needs updated.
Deleting.
Yeah, two people in the header are no longer on the board, and one person who is on the board isn't listed. So,
Vintage header.
yes, it's a vintage header. That's a very nice way to put it. So anyway, do we have a motion to post the vacancy?
I'm having trouble with some of the wording that's on it.
This came from the town clerk, and it was what was posted originally to solicit members.
To meet twice a month.
Um,
It doesn't say that on the trust agreement.
no, it
It
doesn't
says
say
once a
that,
quarter.
once a quarter, right, but so edits were made to this, but this originally came from, and it was what was posted previously. Do you want to change something? We can change it.
Nope.
Okay,
I move to post the vacancy of the Townsend Affordable Housing Trust.
I second it. How do you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Just with making those changes. All right, review the town properties. I neglected putting on the agenda, the, property that we were looking at, which was 3136 but it was in the,
The
the
folder.
packet, yeah. I just kind of left that out there. So this is far out on Warren Road. It's 182 Warren Road, parcel ID 3136CO. And the letter reads, and I'm just doing this for the record, at their October, this is a letter from the Townsend Properties Committee. At their October 11th, 2022 meeting, the Townsend Properties Committee moved, seconded, and approved to recommend to the Board of Selectmen the sale/auction of 182 Warren Road, parcel ID 3136CO, an unbuildable lot lacking the required frontage, which for an A&R lot, it lacks the required frontage, but it does not lack the required frontage for other options in town. So I went and looked at this property online and using Mass Oliver, which is now Mass Mapper or some such thing. And this property abuts the Hickory Hills Wildlife Management Area.
Is that the 34? This here?
Yeah, it's this, and there's another one over here, and then down in Lunenburg.
Yeah, like surrounds the whole.
Yeah,
around
it's largely
back
in
block.
Unionburg, but it's got a fair amount and it abuts that. It's priority habitat. It's biomap 2, species of conservation concern. Forestry and one other thing that I don't have in front of me at the moment, from biomap 2. So, it's 11.94 or 74, I can't remember off the top of my head, acre parcel. So what
11.94.
okay, I think it would be good to subdivide it. It has an existing building on it, a home, that I believe is not currently occupied.
In here?
Yeah.
Yes, up near the road. I think that this would be a perfect subdivide the back piece, see if Fish and Wildlife, Mass Fish and Wildlife would purchase it to extend the wildlife management area. And contact Habitat for Humanity, and start a habitat project on the existing foundation, because I believe that even though it doesn't have the 200-foot frontage, it is grandfathered.
So I ironically looked at the same thing, and you're right, it does have enough frontage for the project of that. Conservation is your realm. But I guess my question would be if this was sold as is to somebody, the revenue that we would receive in taxes would be what? And if we did sell to conservation, what would that,
Yeah, that's a
what would
good
that,
question. I mean, I know that if in fact the rear portion of the lot is in a priority habitat and is really not buildable, it's likely they could get abatements on their taxes for, you know, they wouldn't be able to tax it as buildable residential lot.
so that means less money for the
Less
town.
money for the town
But you
if it
have
was sold
to
as a
back-
residential lot.
But you have to factor in that if it is owned by the town, it's part of the pilot program. The town does get revenue for through the pilot program for state-owned land.
If we sold it to Fish and Wildlife.
Yes, so it would increase the revenue through the pilot program.
Mhm.
And if you looked at okay, I've got it right here with my notes. You didn't get my notes. You guys just got my PowerPoint from the legislative breakfast on Friday. But pilots have been increased 30% So what the town got last year for our state-owned land, we should see a 30% increase on that. And it is significant because we have
Oh,
a
yeah.
significant amount.
We got over
of state-owned
300,000.
land. It is a total of 45 million that the state has added in the FY23 budget for the pilot program. So you can't just say, oh, we're losing revenue if it were to be sold to the state, because we do get revenue for that every year through the pilot program. All right, so Laurie, has everybody here talked enough? Anything else to say? Thank you, Laurie, for turning on your camera.
No problem. Actually, I mean, I wish I wouldn't have to show my face right now, but okay.
Wouldn't we all?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm listening to this. Town Properties debated this lot for, I don't know, 6 or 8 months. Have you walked it?
I have not walked it, no.
Okay.
I've looked at the aerial.
Okay. It is loaded with tires, debris, trash. The house was, I think about 2 years ago, inspected by the building inspector, the town administrator at the time.
We boarded that up, didn't we?
And the town boarded it up because vagrants were living in it. It's been a nuisance at any rate. And the recommendation of the properties committee was to sell it. And under the guise of the recommendation that it is not a buildable lot.
Is
That-
it not a buildable lot?
It's not a buildable lot. Well, the house is really bad. So there's a cost factor to taking everything off that lot, even in the backlands and it does abut Lunenburg, and it does have, all those things that you said as far as the protected this and all of that. But we, in our deliberation, thought that the best thing would be to try to sell it to an abutter who would buy it as is. Now, as is meaning that person's got to encumber the cost of getting rid of all the stuff that's on there. And
if a butter is not interested.
if an abutter is not interested, then you go the next route. And that is to try to get it on the tax rolls. And when you say that conservation or wildlife and fish and game, they pay the town for all the land that they own?
They do.
They pay through the pilot program.
And we get the payout in late July, early August every year.
And how much is that?
We could find out. I had the numbers last year.
Well,
It's
they would be interested to know.
insignificant.
No, yeah. And then also, yeah, and then, ask Vicky the comparison of what it would be for land attached to another property, it's say in a abutter. How much more income would that be yearly from the town versus the income that you get from wildlife? I kind of like the idea of the subdivision of giving the backland, or part of it, whatever, to, or not giving it. Would they buy it?
Yeah, it would.
Yeah.
It abuts it already abuts, so they would, and that
Hopefully they
would,
would.
yeah, hopefully, but that's what I was thinking, and then the front part, sell off the front part.
I would look at those two options of, first of all, how much would we get with it all going to them? How much would it be if we split it off and then sold it to an abutter who would then clean it up?
Is there an abutter interested? Do you know?
I think there may be an abutter interested. I mean,
But
it's.
also, if we had
You have to
the,
think how much money.
right, if we had the front part, and talked with Habitat of Humanity to build an affordable home there.
They would
have to-
absorb, they would have to do the cleanup. This is a lot of money.
See what you're
We're not
saying.
talking,
Well, wait, let me back up here. When you say they would have to do the cleanup, is the trash that's on that property up near the house, or is it in the backland?
both. Both. There is a lot of stuff that would have to be taken out.
Let's
and
say
then-
this is a tax title parcel that we got because the person just kind of disappeared.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah, and so they probably left the entirety of the property in disarray.
Right.
Yeah.
you know. Anyway,
It
they
is.
could
It is. There would be a real cost. I mean, I don't know if you want to invest in, getting an estimate of what that cost would be, but from looking at it, it's a tear down. It's not.
Yeah, the house is, yes.
Yeah. Have you seen finally after, I don't know, it's almost 20 years, I think, that ranch on Fitchburg Road going south towards Fitchburg on the left-hand side? They've just finally gutted it and took the siding off. I'm talking 20 years I've watched that house. Okay. And it's just sat there. I was going to look up like who bought it, and because this is a lot of money today. Everything, when you talk about a Habitat house, you're trying to build something that's affordable. I just, honestly, I don't see that happening there. Not with the cost of everything today. I really don't. If you have a structure already up and you're renovating it, that's one thing, but that is an infested structure.
I wonder if it's worth just asking them if somebody from Habitat could go by and look at the property.
Oh, yeah. I
With
mean,
the building commissioner and say, hey, this is what it is. Is this something that's even within the realm of possibility? Because if they say no, then we know that's not, we don't bother subdividing it because the chances of you doing something like that are really slim.
Mhm.
you have to pay for that too. I mean, you'd have to have a survey done, so somebody's got to pay for the survey.
Sure. Oh, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
but I think it might be worth it to just take that, take a step to say, hey, can you have someone meet us out on site? We're thinking about trying to do an affordable, seeing if Habitat's interested in an affordable site here possibly. And
And they're looking for 2024 work, and they are looking up in this area too.
yeah, I mean, I know most Habitat places are desperate for space because the cost of land is a lot.
Mhm.
They like that house that you said, sat there for 20 years. Seems like it would have been a good, some nonprofit to come in and redo.
It's
But-
just it's probably less than 1,000 square feet or just about that. It's a ranch, one floor. But
Now it's economically feasible to redevelop that and sell it.
so how would that work? How would that work? Would we be giving Habitat the land and then we gain an affordable house in Townsend? Is that it, or?
Pretty much, yes.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
what we
my understanding.
would do is we would gauge, I mean, this is my anticipation of what we would do. We'd gauge Habitat's interest. If they did say they were interested, then we would put out an RFP for development of that land with an affordable, a permanent affordable unit, with an affordable unit that was going to go to a certain, whatever their characteristics are,
Right.
for anyone to submit a proposal whereby they would clean the property and either rehab or build new with one affordable unit. And then we could get Habitat, but there are other nonprofits that do that sort of work. So it's possible that some other nonprofit would
There are
say,
several, actually.
hey, we want to come out and do that too. And then we would have a team that would evaluate the proposals, and we would pick the one that we thought was the most advantageous for the town. And then that would allow us to kind of divest it that way, with an RFP, where we're not necessarily looking for the most money. We're looking for someone who meets the qualifications that we're looking, which is to build an affordable unit.
Right.
Right.
It's just, I'm just throwing that out as a possibility.
I mean, I'm all for, as anybody knows, I'm all for having an affordable house in town. And the only Habitat house that I know of that we ever did was off a pine tree, haven there. But that was just, we gave the land and basically everything else was done, and it's an affordable house forever. There wasn't you need to get a cost factor here, because sometimes it just costs so much that you can't just put a less expensive house. You can't bother building the less expensive house, because basically the cost factor of cleanup could be 50% of the land value.
Absolutely. Yeah,
I mean,
You're
that's
right.
how bad it is there. It's bad.
that's something we'd absolutely have to know, or at least have a good idea about before we went through the process of a subdivision and an RFP. We need to know whether or not an entity saw that as a realistic project, or whether they look at it like it sounds like you think, Laura, which is it's just too much, and then we should probably go a different route and not even bother, because we want it clean.
I don't know. I do real estate, so maybe I just don't know.
It sounds like you would know.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
so
well, good thought.
This is in play, and we'll get more information from other groups and figure out the best way to go. So, all right, thanks, Lori, for the inputs. I'm going to move on to the next 4.7. So what I have on that is ask someone from Habitat to visit the property, consider pilots, look at what.
Yeah.
Talk to Vicky.
Yeah.
So, all right, next one is a discussion of the conflict of interest law. And this one I put on here, it was in the communications on the last meeting, the 18th. And this is just, they're doing conflict of interest law training another way, and we just have to notify them by Friday, I think it is, whether we're going to use their learning system or build our own.
We're going to use there. I mean, I don't think there's any other answer.
Okay.
I'm just very happy they're updating it.
Yes. It'll be nice to have a more modern conflict of interest
Yes.
training.
So it's you will only have two options for employees to complete conflict of interest law education requirements: using our LMS, their learning management system, or hosting the program on your own LMS or intranet site.
Yeah. We could, I mean, I know what, I worked for Lowell, they had a Moodle.
Yeah.
Moodle, so they hosted all of their conflict of interest and law training on their own site, but I don't think that's realistic for us. I think we need to just say, yeah, we're gonna do it via your site.
So it says, please use this form to inform the Ethics Commission of your decision, even if you choose not to participate in using the Commission's new LMS. A response is requested within 30 days, so November 6th. So we just need to,
We can fire off a response.
okay,
And I'll talk to Kathy about it.
all right,
She and I discussed it.
okay, all right. Do we need a vote on this? Or
I don't think we need to go on that.
we use theirs? All right, and Eric, we'll see the response.
Now you're gonna hold me to it, because you got
I
a
am,
note.
yeah. All right, the next one is the revised contract for the new website decision. All right, the only issue I have with this, and I think it's the way to go, that's my opinion, but contracts have to be signed by you or us. And so I'm looking at the contact name and I'm thinking it should be you, not him.
Well, the contact name can still be Harrison.
Okay.
If he's the person that they're in contact with, we would just make sure that the
The last page. whatever it may be,
the contract itself
the
is signed
signature.
by,
And those are all blanks you can fill in
Yeah, we should just fill in myself as
Okay.
the signatory.
So I guess the question is, this will, cost the town about 1,400 more than what we're paying, 1,600 more than what we're paying every year.
So it would be, right now, we pay around 2,200 and some change for Civic Plus. After the one-time fee is taken care of, it would be about $200 more per year. The one-time fee is, I think, 45 something, if I recall correctly. And I can go back and look at what that number is.
Yeah, they were willing to spread it out over the first 4 years of the deal,
Right.
as opposed to getting it all at once.
Okay, so
But,
the 45 is cut into force in here.
Yeah,
so we
Um,
could, for instance, put on a warrant article for the one-time cost. And then pay the annual fee,
Mhm.
which is $200 more than their current,
yeah, sorry, not 45, it looks like 38.62 and 50 cents.
whatever the cost is.
Where are you getting that from?
That should be on your back page there.
3,862.50.
Yeah.
25% of the first year project cost plus year one, plus year two. So,
And then 24.
and you're saying it's 2,400.
Yeah, so
So
year
then-
5 is what it would be if you look, year 5 is what year 5 is moving forward after we finish paying the one time would look like.
The 1 time/4 times.
One time divided over 4 times. One cost split over 4 times, I think is more accurate.
So it seems to me the real question is whether we try to will we go with a cost split where we split the cost of the startup costs over the first 4 years, or whether we put in a request for kind of a warrant article to pay this cost upfront, and then we're just left with only a couple $100 over what our current costs are for the extent of the contract.
So I guess that depends on the free cash.
It does. So I can draft up a warrant article.
I think we should pay it.
For the 5,850
Just pay it all
and pay it
upfront,
up front.
and
yeah,
then our costs are almost identical to what we have now. As
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
going forward in the budget. That was my thought, but I wanted to hear.
No, I agree, and
there's about that.
Changes more to come, but I think that's the best way to do it.
Yeah. Okay, and I guess the question would be, it sounds like Veronica, you already feel like this is the way to go, whether Chaz, you feel like this is the way to go as well.
Yes, I do. I've
I-
always felt that way.
Civic Plus is
Frustrating.
frustrating. So
I started my computer career on Commodore 64.
TI 99.
There you go. So working on Civic Plus is like working on computers.
Oh, jeez.
Seriously, it's very cumbersome.
we either have to go, do the big bucks with Civic Plus, and it is big bucks,
It's, yeah, that's a
And,
real jump.
or we give this a shot.
No, I think it's worth it.
5 years.
Yeah. I think it's worth it personally.
I do too.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of back discussions that we've had in regards to some of the things that are coming down the pipe with online. A lot of the online things that permitting
Payments, on permitting.
payments and all of that kind of stuff, and this we'd be able to dovetail much easier than with Civic Plus. Civic Plus is very clunky and
We're just retrofitting.
yeah,
Yeah, it really is lipstick on a.
And
No,
here
that-
we can just right in there and get the whole thing done right from the beginning.
Yes, and I think I think that to me is what it feels like, a professional review. And then we get another one in year 4,
Yeah, another.
After year 4, we get another free,
Free?
yes, a free full.
Or at no additional cost, it's.
I mean, we're still paying the annual fee,
But.
but they're gonna redo our entire site after 4 years at no additional cost.
Okay.
So, I mean, it feels like we get a chance to redo it and sit with it for 4 years,
Mhm.
and then we get a chance to try it again if we don't.
But I think that's good because we can sit with it with the 4 years, but not necessarily sit with it because there's a lot of retrofitting that we're gonna need to do with the new stuff coming in.
Yeah, and I think that one of the things that I thought was good was, I think that Harrison is comfortable doing the manipulating in the system that they have. It's a lot easier than the Civic Plus system,
Yeah.
which is, like you say.
Yeah, absolutely. And another good thing too is if there's something that I don't have access to do on my end, I'm interfacing, if I call them, directly with developers. And that kind of, speaking directly to the person who's going to fix that problem, it cuts kind of the middleman out of the issue. And
Well, that's what impressed me about the demo is that you would be
Yeah.
working with the developers as opposed to working with a
Sales guy.
Yeah, attack level 1, level 2, you're
Yeah.
gonna be dealing with, because we'll need that with some of the stuff that we've got coming on board.
absolutely.
So,
And with their text editor too, a lot of what's good about that, you can edit the HTML and the JavaScript and stuff yourself. So since I have some of that knowledge to be able to do that, that also eliminates a lot of the potential service calls that we would put into them to try and handle some of that stuff. So it allows more to be done in-house at more than likely a lower
How
cost.
much storage do we get with this?
So we get 10 gigabytes, and I did reach out, and after some chasing Civic Plus around, I got the answer of how much we use now.
Right.
And that's about 7.5 or somewhere
Okay,
thereabouts. So we would be okay for the next handful of years. And I think that a lot of this stuff might not need to move over, because I think that 7.5 includes Civic Plus's system, which is not coming with us. We're just moving
Okay.
documents and content. So I don't think we'll probably be at 5 gigabytes, maybe 6 after the transfer.
yeah, and they're saying 30 gigs with the website storage. I like the.
Oh, 30
bandwidth.
gigs.
Yeah.
My apologies. I
It's
thought we were
30
getting 10.
gigs.
30 gigs is even better.
So that's plenty of expansion.
And the other thing that they did say was they would build for us, they will build out a police website. So that when and if the police want to migrate over, it will be ready for, like a turnkey website. Then they'll build out a library website, they'll build a new fire website. They've looked at our fire website. We need one. And they'll have those web pages ready on our website. When and if those departments that are currently not on our website are ready to migrate over, so we can kind of do some sales, internal sales to them. And then they can stop paying for their own web
Website.
services, and we can kind of, as a town,
There's the savings there, yeah.
get the savings, because all those sites would still be in our $2,400 annual cost.
Okay.
Well, it's a yes from me. I
Um,
say we do pay a one-time fee as opposed to a one-time/4-time fee.
So we need a motion to agree to move forward with development
So move.
and, second, and then we need to, I'm looking at the dates on this, 11/15. I think that what we should do is put it on for the one-time fee and then start this in January.
Yeah, we should start it as soon as possible, like we should definitely put on for the warrant for one.
I can reach out and ask for a new agreement that we could theoretically, if you vote yes now, I'll be in tomorrow, so we could get that sent off, and I could ask for the payment date to be adjusted to after that, whatever the preferred date would be. So if that's January something, I can have them put that in.
I'm just thinking that we have a special town meeting on the 13th.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna do anything after that, except us having a meeting on the 20th. Then you're into the holidays.
Yeah.
So I think the realistic time is that first week in January. That's what I think.
Yeah.
And we will already have gotten yes or no to know which way to go with this.
Sure.
That's my thought.
And I think also if we signed and sent in the agreement, we could have our initial meetings and get started on the project in over this month and next month while we're, still, just doing some of the preliminary stuff.
But we will not have paid.
Well, I think it sounds like what you're hedging against is the special town meeting vote.
It's to know
Okay.
whether we're paying 38.6250 or whether we're paying flat fee upfront.
And then
And then
Okay,
the-
so not signing until then.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, so what we would do is we'd reach back out to revise and say, we're gonna put a warrant article for next month's special town meeting to pay for the upfront, and then once we know that we can do that, we'll sign the contract.
Right. I mean, we'll sign the contract regardless.
Yes,
and-
but to know our
But
payment
to know
option.
the payment option. Yeah.
And then we can also ask them whether or not they'd be willing to allow us to sign a contract with a determination of the specific payment option to come sometime in mid-December.
I could ask about that and talk to Thomas tomorrow.
And if we did that, that would maybe allow them to do some migration and start some work with the idea of maybe being able to do it live at the beginning of the year instead of just starting the migration part at the beginning of the year. Because I think they're gonna want to come back to us with designs and
Well, yeah, there's gonna be a,
there's gonna be a
there's
whole,
gonna be a whole back
yeah,
and
whole back and
forth.
forth.
I think it was a 16 to 20 something week period where this project will take place. So the sooner the 16 weeks timer starts going, the sooner we can have the nicer website available.
Well, if they're amenable to us, yes, we want their services. We just need to know how it's gonna be paid for. I don't see.
Yeah. Well, we can touch base with them and then, if they're amenable to that, I can sign the contract.
Okay, I
And
have to ask another question. Yes, I agree. But, so what do these numbers say? Where are we getting the funds for this? Because did we already pay Civic Plus for the current year?
We probably have. I
I think
would,
we have.
Yeah.
I would imagine so.
And we're gonna be running them until this is up.
Yeah,
Because
Yeah, we're gonna be
they're
running them
paramount.
probably for the
For the-
majority of this year, like
Yeah,
we're not gonna
so-
get any kind of credit from that.
Exactly. So I think we need to look at, so this is coming out of free cash, should we have that? To pay for them. Unless we can, like, ARPA's hard for, this sort of thing.
Well, I would say that the request would be for the full first year cost, which should include the startup cost plus the first year fee. So the 5,000 plus the 2,400. When we make that request.
So we're looking at 8,200. Which matches this. Okay. No, that's the add.
The math works.
She's got very proud of herself.
So I will inform the board of the contracting option. The contracting determinations that they give out back to us. And we'll make sure that we sign something that's not gonna bind us to anything until until there's a vote on the special town meeting.
Okay,
If that's something the board's comfortable.
I am comfortable with that.
I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, I definitely think we should move forward with that.
I agree.
Yeah. And we did just vote that, so it's just a matter of how does
Has to play out.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Harrison.
Thanks, Harrison.
Good night, sir. We'll see you tomorrow.
All right. All right, so 5.0 ARPA projects, I put this in all the time. Eric and I met with Laurie and we're pretty sure we have it down with the 01, 02, 03, 04 and how it's gonna be, how it's gonna play out.
When we get reports from the account, it'll be very clear which our
Yeah.
lines are which.
Yes. So that's the only thing I have to say about that. Town administrator updates and reports. It's all yours.
Well, I wanted to speak about one particular thing that had a very interesting conversation about this week, which was I had a conversation with a solar company about them providing some proposals for a couple of specific sites on town property for potential solar installations. The first is on the roof of the highway building, which seems to me like a no-brainer. It's like you can't see from the road. It's, it's obviously an already industrial building. And I talked to Jimmy about it, and he didn't seem to think that there was any kind of concern. And the other was potentially putting in over at the Council on Aging, the library, and the police canopies in the parking.
I agree with that 100%.
I don't know. I don't know if you guys have. So my middle daughter goes to UMass Amherst, and they recently, over the last couple of years, have transformed several of their parking areas into fully canopied solar fields. And it has the double benefit. You're getting covered parking space, and you're generating, solar. This is a very preliminary conversation. I had been looking into this possibility, and this company came up, and so they are going to do some preliminary evaluations of the spacing to see what kind of kilowatt hours they could generate from either canopies or in the case of highway rooftop solar. Their model is a no cost to the town model. They would come in, work with us, get the incentives so that it lowers the cost of the installation, and then they would have a lease whereby it would be a power purchase agreement. So we would be buying electricity from them at a price that would be significantly cheaper. They're going to be getting it from Unitel over the course of the agreement. And I feel like we need to investigate that sort of thing. Anything we can do to try to get the town weaned from Unitel's rates, we need to do. And this rates would be even better than if we went than the
municipal aggregation.
The aggregation for town buildings that we're talking about, because they're solar and they're gonna be based on the kind of the incentives that we're gonna be allowed to
I would
get.
be interested for you to see if it might be a nice little project for Harrison to look into. Haywood Hospital and Gardner added the solar for their parking as well. It was relatively recently. I'd love to see if they'd want to share some facts and figures with us in regards to that.
And this is the same company that the school district worked with to put solar on the high school and on one of the buildings over in Pepperell.
Farnham Brook, or
I think it was Farnham Brook. Yeah,
Farnham
Farnham Brook. So they're familiar with, the area, and they gave me contacts at the district to contact if I have any questions.
two things. Add to it, think about, an electric vehicle charging station.
Oh, yeah,
They're doing that.
I talked to them about specifically setting up the infrastructure for electric vehicle charging with the canopies.
That's exactly where I would do it. And then the second thing is, where do we stand with community aggregation? That we, back this summer, put Ross on, and
Yeah.
we agreed to have the company
Yeah.
go forward.
Yeah, so
For us.
I need to circle back around with Ross, and I can do that, and I'll let you
Okay,
guys know
That would be good.
where
Where
we
we
stand
stand.
with that.
Because what I remember is that there was gonna be, we're off cycle for the 3 years with Fitchburg and
Yeah.
Lunenburg and Ashby, or whoever they're doing.
Right.
But he was gonna do just us, and maybe who knows who else in
I
the
think that was
bidding
the plan, yeah.
process. And then roll us in with the rest of the larger group when
And
they're
the timing is
just up.
right.
Right.
So we have been moving forward. We have a couple of different pieces of information that he submitted about the town buildings.
Okay.
So I got those and they're likely to be on the November 15th meeting. For us to have a conversation about those.
Okay, the November 15th meeting.
And I will circle back around and try to get an update on where we are with the
Okay.
total community aggregation. For the 15th as well.
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay, we'll do.
So, I mean, certainly we should have that conversation about municipal aggregation, but if we're going the solar route, do we need the aggregation for the municipal bill?
Yeah, because we're never gonna generate enough kilowatt hours to offset all of our electrical
Right.
usage. There's not really, like, this building, for instance, is not appropriate for solar. The roof is not,
And
it's in a historic district, like,
so forget it.
yeah, this parking lot is not really great for solar because of the trees.
Mhm.
So this
Yeah.
building is always gonna have an electric bill, and we want that to be as low as possible. So
Right.
we need to get on a municipal aggregation, get our buildings aggregated with a provider to give us a lower rate. But, I think trying to find places where we can do this in town. They did ask to see if there was any town land that was like appropriate for ground mounted solar. Like the water department's already done out at the well, Harbor Trace. I wasn't comfortable enough with it, with kind of going forward with that conversation. I don't know enough about vacant town land where people would be okay with dropping a solar field. But it's something that they were also asking about. So if there's anything that either of you think of as hey, this is a piece of land that's kind of not as suitable for anything else, but maybe some ground mounted solar, that's a tough one in Townsend, I think. So
Well,
Yeah.
I could, but it would be against my whole conservation thing, but,
But what?
yeah,
well, Meeting House Park up on the hill where they use there are two things with Meeting House Park. One, up on the hill where they have the landing site for when they did the, cut the trees, the forestry management plan, which, by the way, the town has up on Meeting House Hill. And we are approaching the 10-year part, and I don't think anybody from the town has touched it, but it probably brought in 40 to 50,000 when we did the cut way back when. But they pretty much clear cut a huge piece to the left. If you go up to the top of Old Meeting House Road off of Highland, and you walk in, not on the land trust side, which is over towards the highway department with the Blue Blaze Trail, but if you go on the left, you go down along the stone wall and you look to the left, it's huge. That would be the location. I would not want it there, but if you're thinking about, it's pretty open, has the right south exposure. That would be a place. However, it's also the landing site for the, skidders and stuff, if
Yeah.
you're logging up there.
I mean, I think at this point, I've given them a couple of sites.
Mhm.
I'd be interested to see what they come back with proposals. And then obviously, we're not gonna go forward until we talk about it as a board and and the board is comfortable if that's the route that they want to go. But it's certainly worth exploring and seeing
Right.
kind of where we sit with some solar, especially with energy prices not gonna go down.
Right. And I think so.
Well, the more avenues we explore, the better, I think.
I agree.
All right,
And that would be that.
all right, that's it.
That's it for this week. I'm working on the warrant articles, so that's my other.
Oh, good. Okay. So are we planning to open and close
On the 15th.
on the 15th? So we should notify people. that
I
we're
sent
doing
out to all
that.
the department heads.
Okay,
I just need to send it out to the FinCom and the boards and committees. I'll do that tomorrow.
okay,
I'll let them know that the warrant's gonna be open and closed on the 15th.
all right,
To have a letter.
Okay.
That's sent out.
reports from board liaisons. Okay, so I attended Energy last week, Thursday, but there was a mess up in the posting, and so we couldn't meet because the link that was posted was in error, but the link on the agenda was correct.
Oh, no.
And it was if you went in with the meeting ID and passcode, you were good, but if you clicked the link,
Link, it was the
it
wrong
was
one.
bad. So we didn't meet, it's meeting tomorrow night, I believe. Open space and recreation, because I went to energy, did not have a quorum.
Oh, no, you were worried about that
I
too.
was worried about that, and that is what happened. So that is being rescheduled as well. So those are the only two that I think we could do. So, Chad,
Let's see. Planning board. Going over their proposed bylaw changes. They had a public hearing, and got some good feedback for that.
I'll jump in there because I did send a letter. I have concerns about the extent of the changes to what I thought was going to be a bylaw for a 55 age restricted or whatever you want to call it, development, as opposed to every property in town could be some age restricted property. So I do have a problem with that. But we'll talk about that at the public hearing.
I also had attended a water meeting. In the water meeting, there was a lot of conversation in regards to the new tiered rate system. There's a lot of pushback on that. But there's an awful lot of work that the water department is doing that I don't think is very visible to the rest of the town, but there's a lot that they get going on. Greeley Road is done. They got a lot of other outside work. I did talk to one of the commissioners after the meeting, and he's wondering if he should do a report to the Board of Selectmen. I said that might be a good idea, just to say, this is what we've done for the past year. I mean, I think that is something that we really should have a lot of the departments come in. I'd like to be able to see what their work was for the last year and what they propose to do going forward, much like TCAM did. So I think that's a good thing. That's all I got.
Announcements and communications. We received one resignation that was actually effective a year ago. We got-
Timely, very timely.
Yeah, no, we got a lot of these for the fire department. And this was apparently missed somehow in that. So it's effective December 31st, 2021. Do you remember when we got?
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
Yeah, so this one somehow got missed. So there you go.
Okay.
Everything else that came in will go on the November 15th agenda because it came in too late on Friday.
Yeah.
CDBG, we have the final report. I'll put that in for November 15th. And a letter that needs to be signed, go in
And it's
to
done.
DHCD, and then it's done. Yeah.
Diane was in here finishing up the last pieces of it last week.
Yeah, so that's good. So, but she didn't get that to me. It was like late on Thursday and I didn't look at it until Friday at noontime, so it missed this agenda.
Yeah, that's-
So we'll put it on that, and that should be fine. Trying to think if there was anything else. Pretty much it. We have the planning board referral for the age restricted. That's coming up on November 15th.
Mhm.
That's about it. Is there a motion to review and sign payroll and bills payable warrants out of session?
There is now.
I second it. Chad, how you vote?
Yeah.
Veronica, how you vote? All right, and is there a motion to adjourn?
I make at 8:10. Next meeting is Tuesday, November 15th at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay, then I make a motion to adjourn at 8:10.
I second it. All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, we are set. Thank you, everyone.
Yes.
Good night.